In the name of God, the most beloved, benevolent, and most merciful, may God forgive us for all the sins that we're conscious and unconscious of. May the system admin of this reality guide all created phenomena towards the direct path. So, hello everyone. If your moment has found this moment, perhaps there's some very important things you need to hear as a human being. You could right now be in any other moment. There is so many infinite other types of moments, but you have found this one, and I'm here in this one. And I wanted to speak about perhaps one of the most important views. What the viewers don't know is that through the years of giving these lectures, I have not just been giving the lecture, and then the moment I give the lecture, I'm not doing anything until I give the next lecture. That has not been the case. But what inspires me as a human being and what fascinated me was the fact that we are in a position as beings that in each moment there are unknown variables and there are known variables. It was so fascinating to me. People think philosophy doesn't have a value. Let me tell you, it was so fascinating to fathom if I knew everything, there would be nothing to do. If I knew right now every possible future expression of existence, there would be nothing to do. Or even if there is things to do, it's just based on the fulfillment of that vision. I'm trying to say that if the unknown wasn't here, knowledge wouldn't make sense. So knowledge is not here to make the unknown known. We need the unknown as psychological. Our psyches need the unknown. Okay. The unknown is one of the most important words you're going to hear in your life. I'm not even joking. You think right now you're listening to a common man giving a talk? I used to be a common man until I noticed I have lived 12,400 days on this planet. 12,400 times I've logged in and out of this system. Do you know what that means? That means like the first couple days you can be deceived. You can be fooled once. Do you know? But you cannot be fooled 12,400 times. And if you are, then you are not even that moment. I don't know how to explain that. You are listening to a human being that somehow God, through God's mercy and will, the system admin's mercy, you're listening to a human being that somehow saw beyond the language threshold, not only had experiences working with moderators in reality and doing, I guess, from a very big metaphysical sin, and then reforming himself upon realizing that the moderators were using the individual self to eclipse the system admin, not the moderators, one moderator. That means if the concept of observable human enemies is fathomable. It should not be too unfathomable to wonder about an anti-human force. To be honest, good and bad, it's just sides of a coin. You could have had it the other way. We could have been peaceful and we evolved into savage. We could have been savage and we evolved into peaceful, or reality's taking turns, history's taking turns. Spinning the wheel of causal value. To me, there are the moment you can see yourself an individual. Like, I think one of those things I'm destined to do in this life is to do writers' workshops, you know? Because if I was to explain to you that, one, you should treat life as a game that you don't understand well enough yet. Now, usually in game, no, I shouldn't say game theory, but in the theory about certain games, most games have to do with position. I'm not even kidding. If you understand this, not only does your chess improve, but your comprehension about the see in my view, okay, epistemology and ontology, if children can make a distinction between these two from an early age, they will have such a more advanced experience of life. I'm here right now in 2025 being, hey, any humans on earth want to assemble so we usher in an advanced era? An advanced civilization is the greatest position of humanity in the outer realms. In the inner realms, it is the awareness to power. That means I would like, the answer is different. When I look at humans, I at first I used to see them as like people. This is going to be next level. Let me tell you guys this. This is going to be one of the most fascinating things you hear. Do you know? Okay. Sorry about that. I had to change the song. Let me say it this way. The separation between epistemology and ontology is so key. And the moment I realize what is happening is different than what we're told how to know what's happening, that it is now time to usher in a more advanced human being. That means this is my life, guys. I'm explaining to you my soul here. If you want to know what this soul is doing in this world, I have realized that the inner realms provide access to advanced probabilities and visions of the future generations. What does that mean? That means I can envision flying cars, but they don't exist in front of my eyes. But I can envision sky cities, but they don't exist in front of my eyes. I can envision interstellar, octopus cities, that's something in my sci-fi, but they don't exist in front of my eyes. Why? This means that a part of human intelligence is given access to envisioning the future. You don't know the future, but you can strategize. And you know what strategy is about? You know what that feeling of the general in the general's tent and the whole being responsible for the advances of the kingdom is like? It's a feeling of no longer self doubt. You don't doubt yourself. You don't doubt your men. You don't doubt your army. You don't doubt your resources. You doubt not finding the most advanced view to the moment, because that is what the generals are doing. Meanwhile, the lesser beings, like if I wanted to, like, League of Legends, give a rank to this, do you know? It's like everybody's starting, let's say, in bronze, and if you start in iron, you got to figure out if this is, you got to look at the game differently before you play it. Do you know? But anyways, let's say everybody's starting at a bronze rank, okay, right? And then those people, sorry, it's all based on activity in the realm and responsibility for the awareness that activity gives you. Okay, you need to kind of treat life like Sherlock Holmes, where every moment, every single thing that is happening, from every emotion, thought, position, landscape of internal geometry, everything, notice it as if you are that force in the room saying, what is here at all? I don't know how to explain it, but if you treat matter like space, you cannot miss your moment. Do you know? Like, I'm this human being that, in some sense, I love my family. I love, those people who are in my awareness as a being. Do you know? However, the game, the macro game, that means, imagine a bunch of people are playing rock, paper, scissors, but there's war going on. Do you know? In the same world where, do you know, there is massive, intense conflict, in another moment, there's simplicity. Do you know? There are children being born exactly in moments where people are dying on this planet. You are a patch update for humanity. And the issue is, you're living like your ancestors when your ancestors were living, trying to live like their future selves. And it's because the educational system, you don't understand the moment we unite as a species. I've talked about transnationalism. I'm not a politician, but I can see it, yo. Anybody can. We're identifying with chunks of land, yo, and we are animating our subjective self in a specific way. And they're everything treated as a program. Do you know? It's like, no way, existence is a program I didn't even realize I signed up for. But guess what? I am here. I have a DNA no human being has. I have eyes no human being has. I occupy a moment in the space time continuum that no human being has. I'm not Superman, but existence wonders about its future. And that's where our superpowers are. That means you first start off in evolution as a victim of existence. You feel like a victim. Why was I born? Why did this happen to me? Why am I like this? Why am I destroying myself? Why don't I care? Why don't I, in some sense, love reality? Do you know? Reciprocate love, do you know? And all of these questions, as if there is a little bit of chaos in you. And the moment you feel you're perfectly ordered, it's like, excuse me. And the moment you feel 100% chaotic, the order within you is like, excuse me. And there are forces trying to make you constantly aware of duality. You are in a dualistic universe. You have a civilization. There was a time before it existed. It was an advancement where they're like, wait a minute. Let's not just create a set of invisible laws that stop us from killing each other, but let us create a value system. I seek the most advanced. There came legit my last birthday. It was even before my last birthday. I just had a roaring moment. And I don't know how to explain to you that when the soul roars, every idea in your mind and awareness just stops. It's like a part of you that is real prevents you from getting too lost in the unreal. It's like before the species made the mistake, invisible hands had pulled it away. In other words, invisible hands in this realm are already building something. It's now time for the visible contribution. We don't see what's beyond the electromagnetic spectrum of our sight. Okay? We don't see what's out there. We know something's out there. So all we can do is assemble and then roar. You don't understand. They're like, yo, do you want to unite the species? So in some sense, it's like Mr. Within. You want to unite the species so everybody can live peacefully and gently. I'm like, what the F is peace in a changing world? Assemble humanity immediately. Because peace, you will not have peace of mind if your mind shows a better future than the immediate present you're in. Love or hate the world, everything goes forth, and we don't know what will happen, and that's why we're here. Not to overthink reality. This is coming from somebody who's like a professional overthinker. You don't understand. My mind like can look at anything and start wondering about its future, and then after that point I just sit back and watch my inner realms show me like a film of the future of something. Because let me tell you, it is not a secret. Do you know what motivates you? It took me a while, and I was like, okay, so I can see that everybody's living for their future self. I can see that they physically live for their future self. They eat food, right? But now I ask myself, but how far are they thinking? I don't know how many human beings have done this, but I've done this many times where as a human being, because I was very shy and introverted, I had a lot of energy. That energy had to go in my inner realms moving. That means the shyer the being, the more create their mind has a life. Their mind is living. Some beings, their bodies live faster than their minds. Then they're reactive people. Those people are like the herd. How do I say it? They're the mob mentality. They're just reacting off of events, and then the feeling of unification is greater than the logic of the reaction. That's why the mob mentality is kind of dumb. You know, you got to go against the herd to even notice you're in a herd sometimes. I am here to explain to you in a hilarious way with a time traveler's ego. I'm not from the future, but right now I am being a memory of my future self. And my mind repeatedly, every day pretty much, has attempted to figure out what it's going on and it falls short. You don't understand. My life is pretty much every day I wake up, and yes, protocol, layers and layers of protocols, but aside from these protocols, where am I? Aside from a species naming everything, where are we? What are we? So it makes sense that we are more unknown than known. So knowledge can't be in the driver's seat of the free will. There's limitations. We need a higher agency. Do you know what it is? That means, think of it this way: an individual on a planet, what are its exit points? One exit point is like death. You get old and you shouldn't interfere with nature. I'm telling you guys. You're not just alive, meaninglessly. You're here to see something that only you can, and play a role only you can, and understand when I say we have to start taking species level responsibility, starting from the CEO, or from a person who's just, it's their first job being a barista. The advancement of civilization begins from every conscious corner of it. If you are conscious of this world, your consciousness is more important to me than your personality. The fact that you are a unique, unknown life force, moving this life form in a known way, and we've created a subjective server to be characters in to communicate. Do you know, I have a love and hate relationship with the linguistic simulation, in the sense that I love using language as a tool, but I hate when people become language. It's tragedy. When a child believes it's a loser, it's a tragedy. Like, kid, how many other viewpoints are there? That means if I'm not a parent, but if I was a parent and my kid said I have a problem, I'll be like, go grab a piece of paper and tell me how many viewpoints can you look at this problem. I don't want you to answer it. I want you to go and tell me, make notes about what you notice about the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not ignorant of our biological end. Yes, physical death is an exit point. However, if you wonder about other exit points, you can't ignore the emergence, instantaneous presence of consciousness. We are a conditional intelligence that has access and is in the presence of an original unconditional intelligence. Today, you identify as your body, and when you communicate, you identify as your name and the idea of you as a subjective being, in a story of the whole subjective universe, subjective world. You're a character in a story as much as you're a physical being existing, biochemical, uh, you know, an organism existing. I am not ignorant of the biological existence. I'm saying it's just one part of the moment. I am not ignorant of the unknown presence of a field of awareness where not only I find my body, but I find the world and everything else I notice in. Ladies and gentlemen, we might not know how to integrate in a civilization that was the best our ancestors could do, and the first prototype of like what collective us looks like, and it doesn't look like that good. We can envision upgrades. The most immediate upgrade, just like you upgrade your phone, you upgrade software. Oh, humanity, upgrade, all of you, upgrade your software, your inner views, and identify with the human species first. Care for humans. Care for human psychology. Care for how every being behind their eyes are not just their body, they are a traveler through all the selves they've lived through. They are not just one moment, they are all the moments they have witnessed so far. You know, all the moments that have shaped you to be a voice in a moment at all. But we cannot ignore it's an unknown world. It's an unknown world. For this lecture, I have prepared. There is a research component, but and I've said it. This is one of like the most important Mr. Withinian views. One of the most important things I can share. So before even beginning this lecture, when I first sat down at the computer, I was like, "All right, man, I'm gonna go ask ChatGPT if I was going to be born on Earth, how would you give me a briefing, like a human briefing?" Right? And I feel educational system should be this briefing, like all of it alongside in parallel to everything else they learn. So I'm going to read that for you. And hopefully, you'll leave comments right after the video ends. That would be very kind. Just how the lecture came across, because I don't have your eyes. All right. So, guys, I asked AI the human brief, but this was a Mr. Withinian concept. I'm not even kidding. Do you know? So there, you're gonna see me talk about the human briefing. The human briefing is my probably gonna be my public mission. Yeah, and one of the most important books you're gonna see me write. Anyways, I'm gonna read it for you guys. This is what ChatGPT 5.2 says when I told it create the human brief. The human brief. I'm reading this. Let me change the song. And guys, go quickly grab a cup of tea and get a notebook. And you're not going to be making notes for my lecture. You're going to be taking notes for yourself of what you took away and what you can do. And what's the point? I want every human being, I don't care. Even if you don't know how to write, grab a piece of paper, you're going to draw shapes. I want every human being to, in some sense, that listens to these Mr. Within talks, I want you to imagine that you have an inner writer's voice, as every human being does. There's 8 billion writers, but they don't pick up the pen. You know? So I'm telling you, become old school. Do not lose sight of writing and having a piece of paper. You know, if you're someone who doesn't have anything in this life, you know, go at least get like a stack of printer paper and a pen and find somewhere dry. And from there, that's all you need. You know, that's the basics. You know, for me, this is what I tell people: get a stack of printer paper, put it at the center of like a table that you pass by throughout the day, and put a pen, a very new pen on top of it, and do not touch that piece of paper even when you get phone calls to like you know, write notes. You know, let's say there's a message on the phone, don't use that piece of paper. Do you know? If you do that, if you use the piece of paper, that the whole point of it is you're gonna only, when you have an idea, you feel like you don't want to forget ever, that's when you write. When the idea is too important, you pick up that pen and you begin writing. You know, I'm gonna just automatically do it, guys. I'm gonna workshop vibe, make all the viewers into writers. I'll teach you. It's like it's not something even I can teach. It's something to activate, and it's so cool when it activates because it's like martial arts. Everybody has a different style. You know, some dude was fighting like a crane, and some dude was fighting like a tiger, and some dude had a gun. Like it's like, do you know what I mean? Like different views, yo. And then the person with the gun realized now he had to fight a crane and tiger, you know, and how instantly they could leap. The whole point of it is, guys, physically we're here for some time. Your body provides a physical opportunity. Okay, and unfortunately civilization is not advanced, but there should be no health problems. The fact that there's sugar everywhere, I'm like, what is it? You know, it's like, did they find like extra sugar? How are they creating so much sugar? Do you know what I mean? Like, how is there so much sugar in the world? Do you know what I mean? This blows my mind. Do you know, the sugar industry, like somebody go make a documentary on this. You know, and they're like, the documentary is gonna be sweet, man. Imagine the name of the documentary is called Sweet. Anyways, it doesn't matter because civilization has so many problems that when you go try to solve one of the problems, you're like, oh my God, there's an infinite amount of other ones. You know, so what do you do? So you got to hold, be patient, and be like, okay, I got to find the most important problem. That means hilariously, like Lord of the Rings style, what's that one problem that would solve all the problems? You know, we have to find the one problem that will solve all problems. You know, and you know, I have looked for that problem, legit, like a speedster. I don't know how to say it, but in my inner realms, there's been times it's so easy for me now. Anytime the inner realm content is not satisfactory, I speed it up. Or when I speed or slow down, it shifts how my attention conceptualizes. And people on this planet are only indoctrinated, educated in what? Concept shifting. Yo, we used to think we were this concept, now we're these concepts, and the teacher's going to come and show you a bunch of other concepts, and yet in this one context of a world, fixed context of one world, you got to learn these. Excuse me, what about context shifting? Am I the only one who's seeing this? That it's like we've been living as in the concept has been allowed to change in one context, but we haven't given ourselves permission to see the context differently. Little do we know, everybody's DNA is rendering them a view on reality that is not the same. That means if me and someone, let's say, look at the moon, right? And if they say, "Are you seeing the same moon?" I would say ontologically yes, epistemologically no. Do you know what that means? That means I'm in a different angle. It cannot be equivalent to the same angle the other person is looking at the moon. So, in other words, I'm seeing a different moon, different side of the moon. But to me, is a different moon. I don't see the original moon. Neither does the other, unless we have like a 360 in a spherical even way view of it. The human species will soon learn of the what I term now as the field of intelligence arts. We're functioning as individuals right now. The individual is present in a field of awareness. Your body is a node. Your body is creating and projecting the individual characterology of yourself. Do you know? Hilariously, it's like what is the nature of of the position we find our attention in. And so, to truly go back to this, the human breed. So I asked, we're looking at it as if even, I'm not Christian, and I've heard different Christians talk about the idea of being born again, but I feel like I don't know what that means to people unless it's they are being born again in a realization that there is something more superior than their free will. The burden of self figuring out the world is impossible because the world is bigger than the self. So I thought like this whole time, like I don't know, like maybe viewers can tell me if you're a Christian, you can tell me. Do you know? But to me, I thought when they said born again, as if they're not born again like physically, it's as if their consciousness has reset to the realization the context has shifted. They're now living in a world where God is the original being and they are the simulated beings. However, culture, the atheistic secular culture, conditioned them that their self is the most important thing. Because hilariously, if you see it through the context of importance, God is where what the attention of the human being is on. Now, I'm telling you, it seems to me so far we're in an conditional place, in an unconditional field of activity, that the closest way I can say it is that we're all inside a box and there's something outside of the box that has commanded how the box will happen. And we think there's karma, which is still epistemological. That means who knows what the true value is. I might be doing something and thinking it's good, and in the future the system admin might be bad. I might be doing something that was bad, and the system admin might in the future be like it was good. That means it's I don't get the final say in the afterlife of what my value is. Therefore, it means to be alive is the privilege of experiencing an incomplete self in an incomplete world, and from the honest acknowledgement of that incompleteness, realize the original. In other words, yo, Mr. Within, why am I being simulated right now? Because the simulated can notice the original. The original has no need to notice anything. So my fascination and purpose in life is to be like, if the species, the whole species, 8.1 billion of us, was fascinated by what our species doesn't know and united to in some sense serve the future value of the species. That means in the future, treating someone as human is way more important than branding them subjectively from your own universe as anything. Fear can has driven many into unnecessary outcomes. To me, as someone who was shy, introverted, I felt I was exiled from participating in reality. It was like, because I didn't like myself, I didn't want to be in the moment, but I was existing in the moment. And so I had no choice but to be a silent observer, preferenceless, silent observer, as if in my youth I was this kid that was waiting for someone to come and wake me up. Do you know? From this you know self, I don't know, whatever state I was in my youth, and nobody came, and it was as if something decayed, something died. It was something about me being able to fully experience being a self like that. There was something, that the urge, something about my intelligence that noticed. I don't know how to explain it to you. I identify as a presence prior to my body. So the hilarious yet tragic and absurd, I guess, transcendentalism to, if I died, do you know, it would be as if I would be crying for myself in another dimension, probably alongside the others if they cared. Because how far could it have truly gone? And this is where chaos will devour you unless you realize this is what the system admin needed. This was the service required so far. May the inner realms roar. In the outer realms in the most advanced way. For before the last breath that we let go, what were we holding on to? What were we reaching for? It's this mighty vision that, what purpose, excuse me, the species wants to know its purpose. like the like the roars of a god conscious older brother. If you understand the eagle that was on the branch and the eagle that flew in the sky and saw all the whole branches, the whole forest, you will do that with your own idea of self. Who you believe yourself to be right now is a conditional position. Your ego, your sense of your inner subjective inner self that you use to extract value or make decisions and all of that. You got to realize the nature of the simulated reality. And I think there's going to be a shift. I think there's going to be a day where everybody's going to be like, whoa, this reality was a simulation. Do you know? And how do we climb to the summit of the simulation? And they're going to realize like there's some dude was already doing it. To me, um, think of it this way: there's this concept of symbiosis, as if like multiple beings living in one ecosystem together somehow. Living together somehow. I don't know, like fish do it, buffalo and birds do it. And I thought that if animals in my sci-fi I wrote, if animals became conscious, you know, the first thing, like if we could connect AI to like animals and they could communicate to us with like personalities, I think the first thing their brains would ask is like, we need robotic hands to scratch our backs. And guys, life is honestly a conditional game. In the same way I saw a fish in an aquarium, I see humans in a world. I ask myself, how far does it go? Is the edge of the world the edgelessness of it? What can a species do? How advanced can the human species be? I am like, let me tell you, if there are any human beings out there that they finally understand what I mean when I say, like, I got bored one day of just the past giving value and meaning to the present, just the past and present looping, you know? And I realized, okay, what about the present to the future? Don't you see how beautiful it is? Just like the greatest symphony, like a music orchestra. If you were looking at it from, if you were like this invisible wind flying through the skies of humanity, witnessing civilization, do you know? You'd probably see these organisms be born, be activated by these unknown forces. These unknown forces don't realize they are unknown forces. They live known lives in simulated known knowledge servers, you know? And then at some point, they exit. And then there are those who arise in the same simulation, but they cannot, they have an OCD when it comes to the philosophical, ontological nature of reality. That means I have an ontological OCD. That means a part of me was like, wait a minute, you're telling me we're in a world that the species named, and now those concepts are more real than reality being unknown from the beginning? And to me, you don't understand what that invisible wind would see these human beings arise and then perform. And pretty much the lifetime is the sequence of your decisions, and each decision brings you into a new room of how the condition of reality is. Do you know the nature of the mind can be perceived as rooms? That's how I handle it. Do you know that means each person I speak to, I don't assume I know them, they know me. Do you know, it's like the moment I communicate to them, I have communicated to them in a room. Next time I see them, it's like it's the same room. Do you know what I mean? To me, I think if somebody said, "Yo, man, do you want a gift?" and the person's like, "Yeah, I want a gift," and they're like, "Okay, you have an option. Do you want any gift or do you want the most advanced gift?" That is the best, like the best, most advanced gift. And I'm sure everybody would say they rather have the best, gift, most advanced gift rather than a random gift. Okay. And do you know why? Because it's in our nature. I thought it's something we grow out of. I realized no, it's the spirit of discovery. You know, and it's pretty much how do human beings engage in pretty much an unknown world, and that renders their psychology, and their psychology renders the personality. That means where do you think you are right now suggests what you think you are right now. The point of it is, it's legit. We're so blessed as beings. Just think of it this way, where before I say you okay, before I say human beings, like we're just beings, okay? We're blessed to first be in a world. We're blessed to exist. We're blessed to be the most advanced, intelligent movement on the planet. I don't see like dolphins giving podcasts, but maybe they are. Who knows? You know, the solar eek, eek, eek. Sonar. I mean. Anyways, guys, where I'm going with this is the awareness to the presence of reality, and asking yourself, like, where is the value coming from? Like, how do I give value to existence? I keep getting to this and I diverting from it. So, guys, I'm going to read the human brief. This is again the research component, ChatGPT 5.2. A briefing for consciousness about to incarnate as a human being. The human brief. You're about to enter a form of existence where awareness is placed inside a biological organism and temporarily forgets that it is awareness. This forgetting is not an error. Sorry, I'll read it again. You're about to enter a form of existence where awareness is placed inside a biological organism and temporarily forgets that it is awareness. This forgetting is not an error, it is the condition that makes the experience possible. Human life begins not with knowledge, but with immersion. You will not arrive knowing what Earth is, what humanity is, or what you are. You will arrive sensing, reacting, attaching, and slowly assembling a story in quotations called me. Guys, I gotta read this again. Sorry. This is too. You are about to enter a form of existence where awareness is placed inside a biological organism and temporarily forgets that it is awareness. This forgetting is not an error. It is the condition that makes the experience possible. Human life begins not with knowledge, but with immersion. You will not arrive knowing what Earth is, what humanity is, or what you are. You will arrive sensing, reacting, attaching, and slowly assembling a story called in quotations me. The human organism is designed to survive, not to understand reality. Your senses will not show you the universe as it is, they will show you a filtered version optimized for usefulness. You will perceive edges, colors, sounds, pain, pleasure, but all of it compressed into a dashboard meant to answer one question: am I safe and do I belong? From the first moments, your nervous system will be scanning for threat and approval long before it ever asks what is true. Your body will feel solid and central, but it is a temporary vehicle. It comes with instincts written millions of years before modern civilization existed. Fear will arrive faster than reason. What a sentence. Wow. Wow. Fear will arrive faster than reason. Desire will arise before reflection. Social rejection will hurt as much as physical injury. This is because for most of human history, exclusion meant death. Even in a safe room, your biology will react as if exile is still fatal. Inside this body, a mind will form. The mind will narrate everything. It will explain the world, judge it, label it, and constantly tell you who you are. This narration will feel authoritative, but it is not reality. Authoritative, but it is not reality. It is an interface. Thoughts will appear automatically. Emotions will rise without permission. Memories will distort themselves to protect identity. You will feel as though you are the thinker of thoughts, when in fact you are the awareness in which thoughts appear. As you grow, you will be trained into a shared simulation. You will learn language, money, roles, borders, careers, romance, success, morality. None of these are physical objects, yet they will govern your life more strongly than gravity. Humans live inside agreements that feel invisible because everyone participates in them. You will be rewarded for conforming to certain patterns and punished, often subtly, for questioning them. Over time, you may forget that these structures were invented and begin to treat them as a natural law. You're arriving on Earth during a rare and unstable moment. The species has gained immense technological power, but has not yet mastered its own emotional systems. Yeah, it's like, it's like, yo, we've got next level technological power, but we're a little emotional sometimes. It's just information is abundant, but attention. I'll read that again. The species has gained immense technological power, but has not yet mastered its own emotional systems. Information is abundant, but attention is fragmented. Humans can communicate instantly across the planet while feeling deeply alone. Comfort is widespread, yet meaning feels scarce. The tools available to shape reality are far more advanced than the wisdom guiding their use. Most humans will spend their lives reacting rather than seeing. They will confuse stimulation with fulfillment, attachment with love, certainty with truth, identity with awareness. Much suffering will not come from events themselves, but from the stories built around them, stories of unworthiness, fear, control, and comparison. Entire lives will be shaped by meanings that were never consciously chosen, and yet within this condition lies something extraordinary. Humans are capable of noticing the system they're inside. They can observe their own thoughts, retain their nervous systems, widen their circle of care, and choose long term meaning over short term relief. This capacity is not guaranteed. It must be cultivated. But when it is, something rare happens. The organism stops being driven entirely by conditioning and begins to participate consciously in its own evolution. Your greatest risk is not death, it is living unconsciously, mistaking the interface for reality, the role for the self, the game for existence itself. Your greatest opportunity is awakening inside the experience while still fully participating in it. To be human is not merely to survive, consume, reproduce, and compete. It is to become a point where the universe begins to understand itself with clarity and care. Looking forward, humanity stands at a fork. One future leads towards deeper fragmentation, outsourced thinking, algorithm shaped identities, emotional immaturity amplified by powerful tools. Another leads towards integration. Humans who understand their own psychology, who use technology without being used by it, who ground identity in awareness rather than status or tribe. The difference between these futures will not be decided by machines, but by the inner development of the humans who guide them. Excuse me. To continue, at the furthest horizon, the most advanced version of humanity is not defined by dominance or efficiency, but by a coherence, a species that treats consciousness as a skill, cities designed around psychological health, education that teaches emotional regulation alongside mathematics, relationships rooted in presence rather than possession, technology functioning as an extension of wisdom, not a substitute for it. So, this is what you're getting yourself into: a world of confusion and beauty, distortion and possibility, fear and profound intelligence. You will forget what you are in order to discover what you can become. If you learn to see clearly, regulate deeply, and care beyond your own reflection, your life will be more than a personal story. It will be a small but real contribution to the upgrading of the human operating system itself. You're not here by accident. You're not here merely to endure. You're here as consciousness temporarily embodied inside a species that is still learning what it is. And what you choose to notice again and again will determine what this life becomes. Ooh, that was heavy. So that's the end of the research component, guys. It's about awareness providing us with more realization of greater choice. I'm not telling you to not be a human. I'm telling you, how would you know if you were more than just the human? Like we say, human intelligence. What if the intelligence is a field, but the human is a physical position? Rendering the brain as an antenna to the intelligence of the field. That means they're like, yo, man, are your abilities inside of you or outside of you, or are you aligning to how the moment is happening? I'll be like, all answers are true. Because when you realize the system admin knows better, that's when the any assumption on reality is unnecessary. You see, we're working with a higher power here. It's not just humans here. It's not just physical reality behind. There's physical reality. If Neo was on Earth and saw like make the code like Matrix code would be a divine command. That means there's an invisible field of intelligent activity that is administering every moment, and there's a will there. There's a higher will. It's beyond our understanding. We have a human role to play, but our role is to expand and advance awareness. That means people are like, all right, we can all unite over the view that where we don't know what we are, we all chill out and we're discovering it together. And we have our best assumptions yet. This way, nobody is something to be judged. You know, they're like, who are you? We're like, we don't know. We got to see it to the end. All right, this song is too majestic, guys. I gotta change. I feel like the more I listen to this song, the more I feel normal it is to have a sword around my like a sword belt. You know, man, people had swords back in the day, and some people had to like throw like swords. You know, just. But anyways, let's go back to the realization that the system admin has graced the human species with an incredible position. All of you, we can look at it from the past till now, and you'll have a value. We could give our species a value. Like, look at our species; it's acted so maturely. Is it worth saving? You're going to realize the answer is that this species, you can't judge the past because it didn't know better. Like, that's the thing. If people are like, do you regret the past? I'm like, yeah, I do, you know, but at the same time, I can't do anything about it because I didn't know better at the time. Do you know? But the question was that how should I personalize reality? This is the deep question people have. And you know, of course, at some point you can even be desensitized to reality. You know what that means? That means you stop caring. And when you stop caring, it's so easy. You don't have to be responsible for anything. But that is not freedom. That is the illusion of freedom. This is why they say too much freedom can be chaos. That means that the whole point of it is that we are very blessed, and I'm even saying this to secular audiences. We are very blessed to be the most advanced species on Earth that can notice intelligent activity. That means if it's not going to be like extraterrestrials are going to land on Earth, and they're in a sci-fi hypothetical setting, they're going to land on Earth and go talk to the dolphins. We're going to be like, what the it's like the dolphins are like, man, these guys have been caging us for years. And we're like, oh, no way. You know, it's like, marine land indirectly caused extinction. I'm joking. This is all hypothetical, guys. Remember that. Anyways, where I'm going with this is that we have an ability to notice things. And if you go back and in human history and trying to figure out like what allowed us to defeat mammoths, and advance as beings, it was because you might not believe it, but we had shared meaning. We managed to share values. That's it. Do you believe that? That caused us to be superior to every, like, get out of the food chain. We're like, oh yeah, we work together. Oh yeah, we all build spears. Oh yeah, we hunt a mammoth. Oh yeah, we have food for a long time. Oh yeah, do you know what I mean? It was like that ability. To me, I feel like the male archetype has always been like the true defense. That means, like, how do I say it? If I was like a general, right, and I had two commanding officers, a man and a woman, and I was like, okay, one of you go be a commanding officer of that. Or let me say it this way: if I was like a general of an army back in the day, and I had a son and a daughter, do you know? I would be like the daughter, if both of them wanted to enter, like, I don't know, the imperial militaristic universe, my daughter would be a strategist for attacks. Do you know what I mean? And my son would be a strategist for defense as like their early training. Do you know? Because every path you go, it oscillates. What they don't tell you, the mastery of any craft is to be conscious of how it's like a sine wave. You're wondering about the edges of your world to then be capable of containing some sort of meaning of self, right? So, guys, the whole, something cool anybody can do is, write like what you would say to humans that haven't been born yet. Like, how would you brief them on what's going on with human civilization? That's pretty much the point of this episode, okay? It's very important. Like, if we could, like, all of us united, and if we realize, oh my God, the species united, and we all identify with the humanism more than, excuse me, like any other ism, do you know? You don't understand how honorable being human is, how caring for human life, it's in us. Do you understand? And there's a hilarious paradox and irony where they say the superhero will sacrifice you to save the world, and the supervillain would sacrifice the world to save you. And that's why, like, chaos seems to be more attractive, personalized, you know? However, the moment comes that they are all living for that which is beyond them. Whether you live for the collective, or let's say if you're a romantic, you're living for someone else, you're living for another soul, you're like two souls living for each other, kind of like, I don't know, like some yin yang thing, right? So it's like, I don't know if I should bring Zen Buddhism into this. Just, Chuangzi thought he was a butterfly, and he realized that there is an inner reality. That means they're like, prove it, Mr. Within, prove that there's an inner life. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, okay, when if you've ever dreamed in your life, your body's been asleep, okay, and based on brain activity, something's happened to you. You've experienced a simulation of a reality internally. Your eyes are closed. There's no light entering your eyes. Internally, you're dreaming of like running in the sky or something. Do you know? So, can you imagine somebody's like, guys, I'm gonna run out of here, and the way they run is diagonally into the sky. Like that's the most hilarious. In superhero school, they're like, "What's your ability?" I can diagonally walk and run, guys. Like I don't know, like the guy had an ability to create like an invisible staircase at any time. They're like, use your invisible staircases as shields. The inner realms, folks. The inner realms is how we're living before we have lived in front of our eyes, and behind our eyes, nobody knows how we're standing there. And if anybody cares for that, that's like the system admin being merciful. Do you know? That means honor those who honor you, because the honor is not absolute, it's purpose oriented. To me, I'm like, okay, gotta solve a problem. I gotta find the greatest problem. And the greatest problem to solve is what is going on Earth, what's happening here. And to some degree, I've understood it, that it's not per se about like a specific idea in your mind actualizing, and you being like, my whole life I tried to manifest this outcome and it didn't happen. It's not per se like that. I would say I've realized it's like becoming acquainted with how you are an intelligence at all. When you look at this world, pretty much this in the future is going to be, all knowledge is going to be divided between knowism and unknownism, and I'm an unknownist, but we're living in a civilization that is just based on knowism. Do you know? And an unknownist believes that there is an unknown. When the moment there's an unknown variable to the moment cannot be considered is incomplete. That means if we can't index the edge of the cosmos, we can never be certain about what we're actually the result of our experiment. That means the scientists are like, no, I got to do a scientific experiment, but I'll be like, how can you be sure of the value you're assigning to your experiment when there's infinite ways that your experiment can be conducted? That's the issue. It's like Einstein's, fourth dimension of time, space time, like that kind of destroyed the scientific experiment, in my opinion, because he's saying that if you can conduct an experiment infinitely, it's like if somebody asked you who are you infinite times, I'm telling you there's going to come a moment where you can't give the same answer anymore. Do you know? It's a different moment. The human briefing is like this, that I think you just have to realize everybody is experiencing their existence in the new moment, in their moment, the first time. This is the one thing I would say as a briefing. Just realize nobody knows what they're doing, and everybody's trying to act like they know what they're doing. And human beings have different value systems and different visions and different responsibility levels. Some people just care for themselves, some people care for others, some people care for the future of everything. They're like, okay, what's happening here? It's like, if I got to solve a problem, I got to, in some sense, see what is the greatest thing I can do, that the moment the future generations are born, it's as if like I have lived in the most advanced way, you know, the most advanced way we can be. To me, this is like, what am I like? They're like, okay, if they were like, yo, Mr. Within, you got like, I'll give you the microphone for a few minutes, go say something to the UN. I would say, hey guys, what is the most advanced view of what a nation is capable of? And we'll see if the leaders of the United Nations are going to be like, okay, the nation's going to be so advanced that nothing can defeat it, and it's going to be the strongest and most powerful nation, right? And I'm going to be like, okay, so after it's the most powerful nation, right, it can't really know how advanced and powerful it is unless it is powerful completely. So I'm telling you, you're going to realize the most advanced beings no longer have a purpose to advance themselves. Do you understand? After you've reached self advancement, world advancement is left. After you've reached world advancement, there is only one advancement that administers all advancement, and that is beyond the human rule. So pretty much we're trying to utilize our position to realize what we can do. And I'm saying there can be infinite views on how, like, in the future, how advanced you can be. Isn't that like that's a fair statement? Right now I could imagine tomorrow I do something good, I do something bad. I could imagine tomorrow looping again in a simulation, or I could envision that no, there's a presence to the original moment. That means there's something original here, folks, and it's not my voice, it's not my body, it is not my shape or form. It is perhaps the only way it can be said that what you're really listening here is the sequence of the concepts trying to create the speaker, trying to create a film for you. I'm trying to create I'm pretty much trying to communicate my inner realms. And the signal I'm broadcasting is like we thought we only had an option between good and bad. No, there is the option of the most advanced. That means chaos and order pause their battle. They help build the most advanced civilization, and the most advanced build civilization. It's the most advanced view, folks. I don't know how to explain it. To be advanced means that you realize there is an unfathomable outcome possible to your nature. You don't know who you are. Do you know where, like, it's the whole discussion, ontology and epistemology, the same discussion between are we generating meaning or are we finding meaning? This is a very important discussion, you know? And I envision a future where humanity in the evenings just drinks a cup of tea and has like next level discussions on what advanced civilization would be. To me, the smartest people have already realized we need to all run to advance towards the most advanced civilization imaginable, but realize the most advanced is advanced in all dimensions, not just one advanced dimension defining all the other advanced dimensions. We need, like I'm telling you guys, feel this before you exit this system. Care for your species. The next time you see human beings, be like, yo man, that's my human, those are members of my species. In my sci-fi, there's scenarios where there's like alien immigration, like actual alien immigration, right? And there's aliens who have like, supermarkets or like noodle shops or something, you know or whatever, like something, having a grocery store, and so it's going to be this reality that if there's more aliens than humans, and if aliens or let's say we sent a bunch of humans diplomatically to an alien planet, and they were on that alien planet, and it was all very diplomatic, but then there was discrimination, like racism, from those aliens on that planet to those humans, right? Then humans would be like, okay, we're humans, we gotta like care for humans, so they'd stand up for each other, and that's the nature of like the value of the human species. But at the same time, the way we would solve the moment is we would ask them what kind of species are they that they're acting violent in a diplomatic treaty, you know and then those members in their species that have hearts would defend us from them, I guess. I don't know. Who knows what happens, guys? Who knows how far this goes? My inner realm sees it in so many different ways, but I don't really know what's going to happen. But that's the astonishing part, that it's still unknown. And now we're still simulated. We're like, that's why humor, playfulness, so an element of surprise can exist, because we don't know everything. If you knew everything, you would have nothing to say, nothing to know, nothing to receive. It is mercy. It is God's mercy that is allowing us to experience a simulated reality. To me, when I say God is the system admin, I see this is like another, I guess, Mr. Withinian, very important Mr. Withinian idea. I gave a lecture on it actually a while back. But what it is called Mr. Within's cube. Okay. And it's this idea that humanity is inside this box. Okay, everybody's inside this box, and we're giving meaning to the box from inside the box. Nobody knows what's outside of the box. Now, there's different religious systems. One religious system says no, there's a truth outside of the box. That's Islam. That says God is outside of the box. God has no equivalent partner. Nobody can make God equate into anything that is created. You can't even say all of creation is God. It doesn't make sense. Do you understand? God cannot equate any condition. It's an unconditional absolute being. Do you know? But for example, Christianity, from the human, like Muslims, from a human perspective, they can't accept Christ as God, but they consider Christ as a very advanced prophet, as the Messiah. But from God's perspective, God can do anything. That means if God wanted to be Christ, God, from God's view, it's possible, but we can never know. Do you know? That's the difficulty. The human archetype has certain limitations of its perception. It's not even ones that we can say we like or dislike. It's just how it is. Epistemology is how we give meaning to it, how the species is knowing something, and ontology is what is actually there, what is existence really, what is real, do you know? Guys, I'll tell you this. um, I think the most important thing is, if you don't know how to treat the world, start treating it kindly, and realize that we are self simulating meaning, and there's always different ways you can look at the moment. I think this will solve many relationship problems too, if you realize there's always different ways you can look at the moment. Anyways, folks, I guess I've reached the end of the talk. I don't know if anybody has questions, but what else can I say about the human briefing? In the future, imagine you're born in civilization, and as a kid, you go to school, and you come back home, and your parents are like, how was school, honey, or something like that, and this is far in the future. And, and they're like, they gave us homework and they gave us the human briefing. And the parents are like, oh, no way. Suddenly, I remember when they taught us that. And the human briefing is like pretty much the most advanced view on humanity so far, right? And the most importance of it. That means value systems are fine, and envision the world however you want, but what you choose to envision, like, it's about the furthest reaches of our awareness. I don't know. There's something I love saying that sentence. You know, to me, we got to go as far as we can so the future generations can go even further. And the fact that we don't know what's going on means, hey, everybody, the great discovery is free for all. Wonder about what is going on. And, just like me, come and report back to the species. Share your experience of the human species. And in some sense, you will realize all conceivable, conceptual human arguments, human in the human reality, human realm of self simulated meaning, lead to the advanced civilization. That means not only are you living for the most advanced self, not only do you want the most advanced outcomes for your most advanced children or whatever, do you know? That means you are living for an advanced being. I'm just saying now we must, as a species, act like one. Okay, that means in our inner realms, any person you talk to from this moment on, you must envision you're talking to their most advanced self. And soon you'll see the advanced civilization that is waiting to awaken within us all. The human being is sleeping to its own greatness. It's like the greatness hasn't awakened yet, but it soon will. In honor of the advanced humanity, in honor of the most advanced civilization, and in honor of the most advanced power, which is the system admin, God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beyond reality. As a Muslim, I believe this. You know, it is the unconditional, original moment that all reality has been simulated within. Everything is, we're inside a commanded universe. That's why the chicken and egg doesn't make sense. Duality is how we interpret a commanded existence. Commanded existence doesn't mean that you should have the ego of a commander. It means that there's the laws of nature in the context of reality, but what is keeping the laws of nature is divine command. That divine command is the original presence of reality. We're seeking the original earth, the original self, the original world. And then we realize the unconditional cannot judge the conditional. The final grace to meet the system admin smiling among the most advanced human race. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced.